this episode is to go out to the hearts and minds of those listeners whose default mode is quite negative, or who would like to be more positive but don't see the point. I know that there's a lot of misconceptions out there about positivity, and it gets a bad rap. So I will be explaining some of these things, and more importantly, explaining the reasons why it's so important to be positive, and why, when you are so much more positive, why everything is so much better. So I'll be sharing 6 ways to be more positive. You can actually turn your life around just with this episode. So I'm going to start off, first of all, with a little caveat, because this episode, although it's about positivity, I never want to teach that positivity should come above everything else, because there is something called toxic positivity, and that is where you try and swallow all of the negative feelings and just be positive, just soldier on, just be positive. And actually, that is really not good for you, because you're suppressing emotions, and that is never good. And will come out at some point, whether in a breakdown or a physical illness, it will come out, because emotions is just energy emotion. And if that emotion is not allowed to be felt now, it will cause you problems further down the line. So I am not saying that you should be positive over every other feeling, every other emotion, but I am here to explain the importance of positivity in general. Okay. Now, I know that most of my listeners are well into their adult life, and we do tend to get more negative with age. It is just a pattern that I seem to notice, and we just get ground down by life. When you're young, you're positive, you've got the energy and ignorance is bliss type energy of youth. But through adulthood, we go through stressful times. Sometimes people can struggle to overcome those stressful times, and we can get bogged down into more and more negativity and struggle to overcome it, and end up being pretty negative and finding it hard to get out of that. So this episode, I really hope, will serve you and help you, just this one alone, if you set that intention. And probably you would need to listen to it more than once, or listen to it and make some notes, let it sink in. Maybe just listen to it once, let it sink in, then go back and listen again, make some notes, and actually make a plan of action to embed the things that I'm going to say. That's how it's going to make a difference to your life. Because, yeah, as I said, we can get more negative with age, and it is easy to lose perspective. Most of you, I go as far as to say 99.9% of you listening to this episode, you've got it so good. If you've got a roof over your head, if you've got food to eat, if you have a job, if you have your health, if you even have access to this podcast, you are very rich, okay? Rich in what matters. It's not all about money. It's not all about material things. And actually, we can lose perspective of this very, very easily. And it's not your fault. We just get bogged down by negativity. And the brain is designed to be negative, because your brain is there to just keep you alive. And so I've talked about this in previous episodes. If you want to hear more about this, then go and listen to I Have a Caveman Brain. That will give you like an introduction to what's going on in your brain in general. But I know a lot of listeners are listening to every episode, so you will know this already. Your brain is wired for negativity. So it's not your fault if you've got stuck in this rut of feeling negative, and therefore it affecting your life in a way that your whole reality is different, because of the way your perception is. Okay, so being positive is so important, because when you are more positive, you sleep better, your health is better, your immune system is stronger, you have better relationships, you have more fun, you make better choices. For example, food choices, being more active. General well-being is much, much better if you are more positive. It doesn't mean to say that hard things aren't going to happen in your life. Of course not. But it just means that you are going to cope better with the ups and downs of your life. Because when you are more positive, you will stay in your intellectual mind more of the time. And your intellectual mind is where you're able to think clearly and be confident and be happy and stay in the moment. And the opposite of that is when you're living in survival mode and your primitive brain is the part that's ruling things. And that is where you struggle, and you struggle a lot, whether that's struggling with feeling overwhelmed, or feeling stressed, or making poor choices all the time, or really not sleeping well, overthinking, just negative emotions in general. If they are ruling the show, then it's likely that you're living from your primitive brain. And so this episode will be really good for you to listen to and to put things into practice. And also, if this is the first episode that you're listening to and you just resonated with all of those negative points, then set yourself a little structure to listen to as much of these episodes as you can, because you can literally turn your life around just by learning about your brain and learning about what you can do to make things better for yourself. Now, I'd like to just share with you the turning point in my life where I went from being very negative and struggling with my emotions and struggling to feel joy. Basically, I was struggling with infertility. My husband and I were stuck in this sort of loop for years. And eventually, what got me out of this very dark, negative, difficult place emotionally was gratitude. And I'd like to share a book recommendation, because I thought that I was a grateful person before I read this book, but this brought my gratitude levels to a whole nother level, and it changed my life. Because from this point, I was more positive, and virtually just months after that, I was pregnant. The time that actually worked, and we got our twins, and obviously things have got better and better and better since those days. So yeah, the book is called The Magic, and it's by the author Rhonda Byrne, and it's an incredible book. So I definitely recommend that for you. Your brain then shapes your reality, because the thoughts that you have and the beliefs that you hold within influence what you are going to be noticing in the world. If you're interested in this, go and listen to the episode on your amazing subconscious mind, and this will explain things in more detail. But essentially, the more positive you are, it literally affects your reality. The things that you say hold an energetic frequency. Again, this one is related to manifestation. If you want to learn how you can influence your reality, go and listen to that episode. But the things that you say carry energy. And also, there is a mind-body connection between your thoughts. So your thoughts influence your reality, because your thoughts affect how you feel immediately. If you think of something scary or stressful, your brain will trigger and release stress hormones and cortisol, and that will put your system into a fight or flight state, and will affect your immune system, potentially affect your sleep, depending on how full your stress bucket was before you thought that thought. But essentially, when we think negative things, our body reacts, and we are in a reactive fight or flight state. Not good. So if your default is to think negatively all the time, it's very likely that you are stuck in a state of fight or flight with far too much stress in your body. And it's likely that you will get ill more than you should, because you've got a lower immune system. It's likely that your sleep is affected. It's likely that you've got poor self-belief or self-esteem or self-confidence. It's likely that you might feel anxious quite often. It's likely that you struggle to be yourself, or it's likely that you struggle to be in the moment, or you find it difficult to have really good, deep relationships because of how you feel about yourself and your stress levels and all of these things. And this can all be traced back to your thoughts, because your thoughts generate chemical reactions in your body. Your thoughts affect your feelings, and turn things around by making your brain more positive. Okay, and you can actually change the wiring of your brain to automatically be more positive. So in a moment, I'm going to share 6 things with you. And if you, as I said, if you take this episode on board properly, like don't just passively listen to it, but get a notepad out and write things down and make a plan of action, and actually set the intention to really put into practice the things that I'm sharing here, and you are committed to it, then you are going to see a difference. Give it time. Give it 3 months, but you will see a world of difference. You'll be sleeping better. Just find that you'll be generally more positive and happier and calmer. Okay, so like I said, I cannot stress the importance of this episode if currently you are struggling with any of those things I've just mentioned. So let's get to it. 6 things that will influence your state of mind, your default mode. Think 6 things that will help you to feel more positive. Number 1, fresh air and exercise. Those 2 things combined, okay? If you can get fresh air every single day, if you can get out the house before midday, that's really good for good sleep as well. But don't put pressure on yourself. If that's not possible, then just try and get outside every single day. And exercise. And I know that some people struggle with that, but just a walk, just go out the house and walk. If that is something new that you're going to add in, great. That will really, really help you. Okay. Number 2 is gratitude. And I would really recommend that book that I talked about at the beginning. Okay. The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. It is phenomenal at helping you to have higher levels of gratitude. Because if you become more grateful, you will be naturally more positive. You can't be stressed or pissed off and grateful at the same time. Okay, so it's a really, really good book. I highly recommend it. Number 3, the 3 Ps. I talk about these with my clients, and they are what help you to generate more feel-good chemicals in your body, and therefore, on a day-to-day basis, be happier and calmer and less stressed and all the rest of it. So these 3 Ps are positive actions, basically doing things that you enjoy for enjoyment's sake, for yourself, often labeled as self-care, but basically do more of what lights you up. Number 2, positive interactions. When we are sociable, we get feel-good chemicals in our body. It makes us feel good. Number 3, positive mindset, positive thinking. And this is this whole episode, okay? Positive mindset is the way forward. Tip number 4 is music. Oh, I cannot tell you how much music lifts my mood. I am already in such a good place, and music helps me to lift me up even more. Have a happy playlist if you've not got one already. Play music at any opportunity. Great to have an Alexa in the house because you can just tell it to play, or any kind of voice activated thing. Just tell it to play music and just make it a part of your life. And it just, if you're in a low mood, or things are okay but you'd like to feel happier, just put on a happy upbeat song. It will shift your energy. Like tip number 5, and you can do this in a couple of ways. This is about basically building a what's been good routine, okay? Because your brain is wired for negativity. It's wired to spot the things that are going wrong rather than what has been good. So I'm going to suggest 2 things here. Ideally do both of them, but whatever works for you. Have a notebook by your bed, and at the end of every single day, write down 5 things that have been good. And this will help you to reflect on your day and look for the positives, rather than going to bed thinking, oh, I forgot to do that, and I need to remember to do that, and oh, wasn't that a shit conversation this morning? Get yourself in a positive frame of mind every single night by reflecting on what's been good. The other way you can do this is, if you live with somebody, ask them what has been good when you get home at the end of the day. Rather than asking, how was your day? Ask them what has been good. And it's a really good routine to get yourself into, because it encourages the other person and you to look for the things that have been good and start the conversation off on a positive. And if you don't live with somebody, then start that routine with a colleague, or you can check in with a friend over on social media, on like Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. Start this what's been good routine with a friend. You can check in with each other every morning and just do a quick message, what's been good, and note down these positives. And number 6, and this would be good as a way to just scan through your life briefly, and it's an audit for negativity. Okay, so look through your life. Where are there unnecessarily negative things? For example, how often do you watch the news? If you know that the news affects your state of mind, makes you feel more anxious, stressed, angry, whatever, then cut it down. There's a whole episode on that. Have a look at the people you spend your time with. How negative are they? And I'm not saying cut them out. I'm just saying you can start to influence conversations, and start to be more positive and try to change the dynamic to be more positive. And you can do the what's been good thing with your friends too. Yeah, other things that you can audit are your social media. If it's negative, if it's full of negativity, then you can do something about that. It's your social media feed, or even come off social media altogether. It's your life. You can make the changes that you need to make. But positivity is a really, really powerful thing to have more of in your life. And when you have a commitment to be more positive and do it every day, it's like forming a new habit. You are literally forming a new habit in the mind. So you need consistency, you need repetition to make the new neural connections in your brain become strong, so that they become hardwired and you automatically become more positive. This is an element of my Change Your Life program, that my members go on a journey with this right at the very beginning, and they practice this from the get-go, so that they are automatically more positive and therefore more resilient, and they make better choices, and their sleep just improves so much, and they're just happier, healthier, more grounded, more centered. And there's so much more than this in the program, but this gets you off onto a good start. So I hope you have found this episode interesting, beneficial. Obviously, you need to go and put the work in now, but I hope it has helped. Please let me know if you found it helpful. Let me know any feedback that you have. I'd love to hear from you over on Instagram at Believe and Achieve with Jenna. And whilst you're there, I'd love for you to share it on stories, and tag me, so that this episode can reach more people. It's the reason I do this. I see you all as my clients, those people listening in my world. If you are in my world, even if you've never spoken to me before, I see you as a client, because I know that what I'm saying can impact your life. So I want to help more and more people. Please help me by sharing this with a friend right now. Or if you're on Instagram and you know how to do it, share it to your stories and tag me at Believe and Achieve with Jenna. That would be wonderful. And I will send you an exclusive hypnotherapy audio to thank you in return. So that's it from me. I'd just like to remind you of the show notes, what you can find in there. You can find a link to a sleep hypnosis audio, which is free. You can listen to this at night when you go to sleep to help you get off to a deep sleep quickly, and to help you feel calmer, more positive, more energized when you wake up in the morning. You also will find a link if you have resonated with what I've been saying and you would like to basically take a shortcut and get yourself to a really good, happy, calm, positive, resilient, confident place where you have more self-belief, more drive, more motivation, better boundaries, higher self-worth, all of these amazing things that are so necessary for you to lead the best version of your life. If you want this in your life and you want to have a shortcut, then solution focused hypnotherapy and coaching with me is potentially what you need. Book in a free discovery call from the link in the show notes. And other than that, you can find different places to find me and have more of me in your life. Thank you so much for listening, as always, and I will catch you again next week. Bye. My mission with this podcast and why I started it was to serve. And so I really hope that everything I've shared with you today and in previous episodes is serving you and helping you to change your life. It requires consistent action. It requires effort. But if you're willing to put in the work, then you can absolutely change a great deal just by listening to me and implementing my advice. However, if you're listening and you would like to work with me, then obviously I work too. I do solution-focused hypnotherapy and much more. And my program is called Change Your Life. And it's a program that I'm really proud of. So if you're interested in this and would like some more information about how it works and whether it would be right for you, then do get in touch with me via the information in the show notes. Thanks again for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share it with a friend or stick it up on stories on Instagram and tag me at Believe and Achieve with Jenna. See you next week.